My name is Veronica Lane, and I've worked in luxury interior design sales for over a decade. I'm 36 years old, and for the past 6 years I've been the top-performing consultant at Westbridge & Coas, a boutique firm in downtown Chicago that caters to high-end real estate developers and design architects. I wasn't handed success. I built it, client by client. From walking cold leads into warm referrals, to flying out to meet developers at job sites in the freezing Michigan winters, I earned every single number on my sales reports. So imagine my surprise when I started watching my commissions and my clients get reassigned. Not to a veteran consultant, not to someone with more experience, but to Sasha Monroe. She'd only been at the company for 5 months. 27, fresh from some mediocre furniture chain in Tampa, with a big smile and a glossy resume light on actual results. But somehow, Sasha was suddenly in the spotlight. It started small, a couple of minor commercial orders here and there. Then she landed a mid-tier hotel renovation job that I knew had originally been marked under my name in our CRM system. When I asked our manager, Elliot Crane, about the switch, he shrugged. "Probably just a system error," he said. "No big deal, Veronica. You're doing great." That should have been the first red flag. Then came the Woodmark Tower project, a huge deal. One I'd been cultivating for over a year. I had the specs memorized, had coffee with the developers, even walked the property in heels when it was still a dusty shell of scaffolding and cement. And then, just like that, the lead was gone, reassigned, to Sasha. I stared at my inbox when I saw the update. Not even a conversation, just a system note. Client transferred to S. Monroe, effective immediately. I stormed into Elliot's office. "What's going on?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "Why was the Woodmark account moved?" He didn't even blink. I thought it was a better fit. Sasha brings a younger, more lifestyle-forward energy to that project. They're trying to attract a trendier clientele. "A younger energy?" I repeated. "Elliot, I brought that client in. I've handled every spec, every vendor, every finish. That's my account." "You're still on track for quarterly goals?" he replied coolly, not even looking up from his screen. "Don't take it personally." "Don't take it personally. That's corporate speak for sit down and shut up." I walked out of that office furious, not just because of the account, but because I already knew what was really happening. See, what Elliot didn't know, what neither of them knew, is that I listen, and I remember everything. A few weeks prior, I'd overheard them laughing together at the back of the office after hours. Thought nothing of it then, but little comments started piling up. Inside jokes, shared glances. The time Elliot walked past Sasha's desk and touched her shoulder. Casual, but familiar. Too familiar. I started paying attention, and what I saw confirmed it all. She was playing him, and he was letting her. Suddenly, Sasha was in every high-level meeting, sitting in on vendor calls she had no business being on, asking questions during design briefings about deals she wasn't even assigned to, and the office gossip? It wasn't subtle. "She's got Elliot wrapped around her little finger," someone whispered near the break room. "She's smart," another said. "You don't climb that fast just by smiling." Oh, she was smart, all right. Smart enough to know who to charm, smart enough to know which deals to chase, and smart enough to think I wouldn't fight back. But she underestimated one very important thing. I've been in this business long enough to know how to play a long game, and I wasn't about to let some polished opportunist, backed by a weak manager, erase everything I'd built. That night, I stayed late after everyone had gone. I logged into our CRM and started pulling activity logs. Most employees don't even know the system tracks internal view histories. I did. Every time Sasha clicked into one of my client accounts, even ones she wasn't assigned, I marked it down. Every internal file she downloaded, every spec sheet, Every quote I'd spent weeks refining, only for her to copy and paste it under her name. And then I pulled the full record on the Woodmark Tower deal. It was exactly what I suspected. The client had never requested the change. In fact, I found an email thread, one Sasha must have thought I wouldn't see, where she told Elliot she had a fresh vision for the account and wanted to run point so she could practice closing larger deals. Practice. She was using my work to practice. I forwarded the emails to myself, created a secure folder, copied every detail of my case into a drive labeled Contingency Plan SM. Was I going to HR? Not yet. I knew better than to walk into that room with feelings. I needed facts. I needed patterns. I needed timing. Because if I pushed too early, I'd look bitter. Like I was jealous of a younger woman. But if I moved strategically, I could expose both of them. I sat back in my chair, watching the office city lights flicker beyond the window. I could almost hear Sasha's voice in my head, soft and calculated. It's not personal, it's just business. Fine. Then let's handle it like business. Because I don't lose deals. Not to men like Elliot. And not to women like Sasha. The Monday after I built my Contingency Plan SM1 folder, I walked into the office with my head high and my eyes open. Sasha was already at her desk, laughing a little too loudly at something on her phone. Elliot walked past her with a fresh espresso and dropped it onto her desk without a word, like he'd done it 100 times before. She winked. He blushed. It was pathetic. But I smiled. Because while they were busy playing office favorites, I was playing chess. That week, Sasha presented at the morning pipeline meeting for the first time. It was supposed to be my slot. I was set to review the progress on our Midtown hotel accounts and the Anderson lofts, but when I checked the meeting agenda, Sasha's name had been slid in above mine. Topic: modernizing client engagement. She walked to the front in her too short skirt and stiletto heels, flipping her hair like she was auditioning for a reality show, and then she started speaking. I sat back in my chair, arms folded, silently watching her present my data. The lead conversion rates? My spreadsheet. The Anderson forecast graph? I'd made that template 6 months ago. Even her language, client personalization at scale, was straight from a pitch deck I'd built last quarter. She didn't change a word. She just stripped my name off and presented it like it was hers. I made eye contact with Elliot. He looked smug, like he knew and didn't care. After the meeting, people whispered, "Great job" to Sasha. She batted her lashes and nodded like she'd just given a TED Talk. Elliot clapped her on the shoulder. Then she had the audacity to walk by my desk and say, "Thanks for the Anderson files. I just needed some examples to work off." I didn't even flinch. I just said, "You're welcome. I always like helping people grow, especially those who need the practice." Her smile flickered for half a second before she turned away. I opened my laptop and pulled up the meeting recording, downloaded it, saved it, labeled it Exhibit B. 2 days later, I got an internal ping from our operations coordinator, Tyler. He was newer, kind, and one of the few people in the office who didn't treat Sasha like she floated. "Hey, Veronica," he wrote, "just a heads up. Elliot asked me to reroute the Kensington account to Sasha. Thought you were on it." I was. I absolutely was. Kensington was a client I'd nurtured for 9 months. I'd walked them through 3 custom furniture mood boards, landed them a discount with our high-tier vendor, and personally sat through a 3-hour tile consultation. And now? "Reroute it," I replied. "Thanks, Tyler. I'll take it from here." Then I called Kensington directly. "Hi, Leah," I said cheerfully. "I heard there may have been some confusion regarding your primary point of contact. I just wanted to make sure we're still aligned before our final quote walkthrough." Leah, the client, was surprised. "Confusion? No, we haven't spoken to anyone but you. Should we be?" I smiled. "No, not at all." I emailed the call transcript to myself, labeled it Exhibit C. By Thursday, I'd gathered enough material to fill a binder. Sasha accessing client files with no assignment record, Elliot bypassing CRM protocol to reassign leads, meeting footage showing Sasha taking credit for work she didn't produce, internal messages hinting at side coaching sessions between them. I wasn't ready to go to HR yet. I wanted one more piece. I needed to catch them acting in real time. That Friday, I stayed late. Again. I knew Sasha and Elliot had been doing evening strategy sessions once a week, usually around 6:30 p.m. after most people had left. So I left a decoy, a fake client file labeled Legacy Lofts Preliminary Pitch. Inside was a single document with embedded tracking, a digital tripwire. Sure enough, at 6:54 p.m., the file was opened on Sasha's laptop. Then again, forwarded to Elliot's inbox. I watched it happen live through the metadata log. It took all my strength not to laugh. The file had no real client info, just dummy data and a single hidden line of text at the bottom. Gotcha. The next week, Sasha showed up to the Monday morning check-in glowing. She was wearing a new blazer, sleek and white, like she was dressing for a promotion. She even took Elliot's coffee order in front of everyone. Just smiled, pulled out her phone and said, "Latte, extra shot, just how you like it." A few people raised eyebrows. Others avoided eye contact. It didn't matter. The shift was coming, because I'd already had a conversation with Rachel Cole, our regional HR lead. I didn't tell her everything. Not yet. Just enough. Enough to make her curious. Enough to trigger what's called an internal access audit. Rachel was sharp, quiet, and very good at her job. She promised discretion. I said, "I don't need this to be public. I just need it to be right." By Thursday, things got strange. Sasha looked rattled. Elliot, distracted. He canceled 2 meetings and called in late that morning. HR had started poking around. But I wasn't done yet, because while I had the upper hand, I wanted the final piece. A recording. One I didn't have to hide or fake. Just a casual conversation. One I could prompt. That Friday, I invited Sasha to coffee. She looked surprised but eager, like she'd won. We sat at a table across the street from the office. She was smug, blinking too fast, overcompensating, and then she said it. "Look, Veronica, I know you're upset, but I didn't ask Elliot to take your clients. He just sees potential. He knows I'm, let's say, persuasive." I didn't blink. I just stirred my coffee slowly. "And I'm sure once he's director," she continued, "things will really start moving for both of us." I raised my brow. "Both of you?" She caught herself, too late. I ended the conversation right there, walked back to the office, saved the audio clip, Exhibit D. And just like that, the next move was mine. By the time Monday rolled around, I had everything in place. Documentation, check, screenshots, logged, audio, labeled, timeline, bulletproof. But this wasn't just about proving Sasha's manipulation or Elliot's bias anymore. This was about creating a clean takedown, one that no one could refute. No emotion, no mess. Just the facts, served cold. That morning, I walked into Westbridge and Coasters wearing my sharpest navy blazer and a quiet confidence I hadn't felt in weeks. I nodded to Sasha at reception. She didn't smile this time, and took my place in the open workspace. By now, people were noticing the shift. Sasha wasn't getting the same laughs or backpats. Elliot's door stayed shut. Rachel from HR had started quietly interviewing support staff, account coordinators, and even Tyler from Ops. No one was saying anything directly, but the air had changed. I had tilted the board, and now it was time to make the winning move. I had one last play, the Fairgrove account. It was a high-end residential project, potentially 6 figures in custom furnishings, and the RFP had just landed on our shared team dashboard. I knew exactly what would happen. Elliot would forward it to Sasha, quietly, without proper routing. So I set bait. I created a draft proposal, gorgeous but fake, and uploaded it under my name. It was loaded with invisible tracking pixels and watermarked elements that would alert me the second someone tried to duplicate or forward it. Sure enough, within 3 hours my phone buzzed. Sasha had opened the file. Then she copied it. Then she re-uploaded it under her folder, with one small change. She'd replaced my name on the pitch with hers. I stared at the notification with a slow-burning satisfaction. You couldn't manufacture a better setup if you tried. That afternoon, I walked into Rachel's office with a flash drive and a calm, rehearsed voice. "I'm ready," I said. She closed her laptop. "Show me." So I did. I showed her the emails, the reassignment logs, the meeting footage, the CRM downloads, the audio clip of Sasha admitting she was benefiting from Elliot's advancement, the timeline cross-referencing every client Sasha had received through non-standard protocol, and finally, the Fairgrove pitch duplication. Rachel said nothing for several minutes. She just took notes, reviewed timestamps, paused, replayed. Then she looked up and said, "This is airtight." "I want this handled discreetly," I told her, "but thoroughly. I want my name cleared, my clients reinstated, and I want accountability." She nodded. "You'll have it." The next morning, Sasha wasn't at her desk. By 9:15, Elliot's door was shut, but this time with HR inside. By 10:03, an all-staff email landed. Effective immediately. All client assignments will be frozen pending internal review. Please direct any urgent matters to the interim lead, Veronica Lane. I didn't blink. I didn't smile. I just opened my laptop and started replying to clients who'd been wrongfully redirected over the last 2 months. One of them, a high-profile developer named Martin Hayes, responded within minutes. "I'm so glad to hear from you, Veronica. To be honest, we weren't sure what was going on. We only ever wanted to work with you." I forwarded the message to Rachel. Exhibit E. Around noon, Sasha reappeared in the office. She looked shaken. Gone was the blowout, the gloss, the confidence. Her heels clicked like gunshots as she crossed the floor. Every eye on her, but no one said a word. She walked straight to Elliot's office. 10 minutes later, she walked out with red-rimmed eyes and her desk badge in her hand. Then Elliot followed, face pale, jaw clenched. HR flanked him. He wasn't escorted out, but he might as well have been. People stared. Whispers buzzed. He didn't look at me. Sasha did. Her expression was half rage, half disbelief. Like she couldn't understand how the woman she tried to walk over had somehow walked her right out the door. I didn't gloat. I just turned back to my screen and opened a fresh client proposal, because I hadn't come to fight for revenge. I came to reclaim what was mine. Later that week, Rachel called me into her office again. "I wanted you to hear it directly," she said. "Elliot has officially resigned, effective immediately. Sasha submitted her own resignation shortly after. We're treating both cases as ethics violations." I nodded. "There will be no public statement," she continued, "but senior leadership has authorized your full reinstatement on every reassigned account, and we'd like to discuss something else." She slid a folder across the desk. Inside, a revised organizational chart. My name was at the top of the Strategic Accounts Division. "I'd be lying if I said I was surprised," I said, smiling for the first time in days. Rachel chuckled. "You didn't just protect your name, you protected the company's integrity. That's the kind of leadership we need right now." I walked out of that meeting with more than a new title. I walked out with clarity, the kind that only comes when you know who you are, what you're worth, and what you'll no longer tolerate. Sasha used charm to climb quickly, But she built her ladder out of paper. And Elliot? He thought ignoring protocol would keep him in control. They both forgot the one rule that matters in this business. Results speak louder than relationships. And my results? They've always been undeniable. The Monday after I became head of strategic accounts, I arrived early. Not to make a statement. Just because I was finally excited to walk in again. The office felt different. Lighter, less tense. No forced laughter. No shadowy meetings. No Sasha parading in with Elliot's coffee like she ran the place. For the first time in months, the team looked at me not with suspicion, but with something else. Respect. Still, I knew there was work to be done, not just with numbers and accounts, but with people. The mess Sasha and Elliot left behind wasn't just in spreadsheets. It was in trust. In morale. In the quiet resentment that builds when good people feel invisible. And I wasn't going to lead from behind a title. I was going to lead with purpose. First order of business? Transparency. I called a team meeting. No agenda, no PowerPoint, just us. Let's clear the air, I said, standing in front of the whiteboard, marker in hand. You all know what happened. What matters now is how we move forward. No one spoke at first. Then Tyler raised his hand. Are we allowed to talk about it? Yes, I said. You're not just allowed. You're encouraged. One by one, team members opened up. About how they'd been discouraged from sharing leads. About Sasha's tendency to hover over their desks, rewrite their work, or present their ideas as her own. About Elliot making subtle comments about loyalty anytime someone questioned a decision. By the end, the whiteboard was full of bullet points, concerns, solutions, requests. This, I said, tapping the board, is where we start. Over the next 2 weeks, I implemented 3 key changes. 1. Transparent lead routing. No more backdoor reassignments. Every new client lead now goes through a shared dashboard with time-stamped logs and assignment notes. 2. Recognition rotation. Every Friday, a different team member is nominated by peers for a spotlight. No more favorites, no more politics. Just earned respect. 3. Mentorship tracks. I created a 3-tier mentorship system pairing junior consultants with seasoned ones. Real training, not coffee runs. One person I immediately tapped was Annika Bose, a quiet but brilliant associate who'd been shadowed by Sasha for months. Annika had a mind like a steel trap, detailed, organized, and full of strategic insight. She just hadn't been allowed to shine. I called her into my office. You've been overlooked, I told her, but not anymore. She looked stunned. I've been watching your work. You're consistent, proactive, and smart. I want you to take point on the Willow Row redesign. Her eyes widened. Seriously? Seriously, I said. You're ready. And she was. Over the next week, Annika not only crushed the proposal, she got a personal email from the client saying it was the best onboarding experience they'd ever had. I forwarded it to the partners. Recognition done right. Then came the internal review report from HR. It confirmed everything we knew, and a few things we didn't. Apparently, Sasha had been submitting duplicate invoices to pad her commission numbers, and Elliot had approved them. They were small, $300 here, $600 there, but they added up. Enough that accounting flagged it once the audit began. Rachel from HR called to thank me again. You didn't just stop the favoritism, she said. You stopped actual fraud. I hung up and stared out my office window, watching the traffic buzz past the 17th floor. All this time, they thought I was standing still. But I was building. And now, they were gone, and I was still here. That Friday, I stayed late. Not out of necessity, but reflection. I walked through the empty office, the same floors I used to pace, wondering why no one saw what was happening, the same desks where I'd quietly tracked Sasha's theft, The same hallway where Elliot once told me I was taking things too personally. I reached Sasha's old desk, now empty, wiped clean. But I could still picture her there, smirking, sliding into meetings uninvited, whispering to Elliot, acting like the whole place revolved around her. It used to make my blood boil. Now, it made me grateful. Because if she hadn't tried to steal what I'd built, if Elliot hadn't dismissed me, I might have never realized how strong I really was. I opened my phone and tapped into our new CRM dashboard. Annika had just closed the Willow Row deal. A 6-figure contract, her first. I texted her one word. Congratulations. She replied with a smile emoji and a heart. I smiled back. We were rebuilding the right way. People often think power comes from titles, or big voices, or strategic alliances with the right manager. But real power? It's what you do when no one's watching. It's choosing strategy over emotion. It's choosing facts over gossip. It's choosing integrity, even when it costs you in the short term. Sasha climbed fast, but she built her ladder on borrowed steps. Me? I built mine from the ground up. No favors, no shortcuts, just grit, clarity, and a quiet fire that never went out. It was from corporate. More specifically, Deidre Hale, our Executive Vice President of North American Strategy. We'd only met once, years ago, during a networking event I barely remembered. But her voice was calm, firm, and direct. "Veronica," she said, "I've been following what's happened in Chicago. I wanted you to know, your name came up at this week's senior meeting. In a good way?" I was surprised. "I appreciate that. What you've done, taking over in the middle of internal turmoil and not only steadying the team, but growing accounts within 2 weeks, that doesn't go unnoticed." I didn't know what to say at first. "I understand you kept things quiet, clean, documented, and professional," she continued. "That's rare. Too rare. I'd like to meet in person. Our Q3 Leadership Summit is in Denver. Would you be willing to attend?" "Yes," I said, barely containing my breath. "Good," she said. "We need more leaders like you. The ones who know when to fight and when to win." The following Friday, I stood at the front of the conference room as my team wrapped up their weekly reports. Annika was thriving. She'd just landed another account and was already mentoring a junior associate. Tyler was more confident than ever. The mood was different now. Focused, collaborative. No more whispered politics or side eyes. Just results. That's when I got the Slack message from an old teammate. "Hey, you might want to see this." Sasha's name popped up again. I blinked. Click the link. It was a LinkedIn update. Sasha Monroe, new title, Sales Strategy Consultant, freelance, reconnecting with former clients in luxury interiors. The word reconnecting made my jaw tighten. I clicked again. And sure enough, 3 of my former clients, ones I had personally worked with before she ever arrived, had engaged with her post. I sat still for a moment. She was circling, trying to salvage her career by leveraging relationships she didn't earn, slipping through the cracks as a freelancer, counting on short memory and long charm. And that's when I remembered something important. Brentley Holdings, a mid-sized commercial developer we had pitched 6 months ago, before the fallout. They had gone quiet right around the time Sasha started getting involved. I logged into our CRM. There it was. Notes, emails, even a proposal draft. I'd started that pitch. Sasha had followed up, then nothing. Now Brentley Holdings had a new interior consultant. Guess who? I forwarded the file to Rachel in HR and attached the updated LinkedIn screenshots. I wasn't asking for revenge. I was drawing a line. Rachel replied immediately. "We're opening a cease and desist review." She signed a non-solicitation agreement, This is actionable. Thank you for flagging it. It wasn't just about principle. It was about legacy. Sasha thought she could slink back into the industry, no consequences, no accountability. But this time, I had receipts and reach. That weekend, I got a call from Brentley Holdings. A new VP had taken over, someone I'd worked with years ago on a separate project. I saw your name attached to an old file, he said. Did you end up handling the project? I explained, politely, that we'd lost momentum, but the offer still stood. He paused. I wish I'd known that earlier. Sasha was vague. Then, after a beat, can we restart with you? I'd prefer to work with the original team. I smiled. Absolutely. I'll send over the updated pitch Monday morning. Click. And just like that, the final thread Sasha tried to pull unraveled in her hands. Monday came fast. I boarded a flight to Denver that evening for the Q3 Leadership Summit. It was strange being surrounded by executives again, polished suits, elevator pitches, tight handshakes. But this time, I didn't feel like I had something to prove. I felt like I belonged. Deidre met with me the first afternoon. We sat by the hotel's glass-encased fireplace, a tray of coffee between us. I read your full internal report, she said, and I read your notes from the team meetings. It's clear you don't just clean up messes, you elevate people. I nodded. That's what makes companies better. Agreed, she said. Which is why I'm recommending you to lead our upcoming regional training initiative. We need someone who understands not just performance, but ethics, real mentorship, the kind that prevents another Sasha from slipping through the cracks. The words sank in slowly. You're not just rebuilding, she added. You're protecting what we build next. That night, I returned to my hotel room, looked out over the Denver skyline, and let myself breathe. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't chasing fairness or fighting for a seat at the table. I had the table. I was choosing who got to sit next to me. Sasha could post all she wanted, pretend all she liked. But power built on deception doesn't last long, because somewhere down the line, someone like me shows up. Someone with the proof, the discipline, the receipts, and the will to say, enough. Build something stronger than what they tried to tear down. The corporate leadership team had approved Deidre's proposal. Effective immediately, I would lead Westbridge's Regional Integrity and Sales Mentorship Program. It wasn't just about onboarding or client strategies. It was about culture. They asked me to redesign the blueprint for what leadership could look like in a firm like ours. Not performative, not political, but principled. And I said yes. The first person I invited into my office after that? Annika. She sat across from me, notebook ready. That same calm but hungry energy she'd always had. I want you to take on a new role, I said. Mentorship coordinator for the strategic accounts team. You'll have 2 junior associates reporting directly to you. She blinked, stunned. Me? Yes, I said, smiling. You earned it. And we need people like you at the foundation. Her eyes welled up a little. I knew the feeling. That moment where someone finally sees your value without you having to beg for it. She stood, straightened her shoulders, and said, I won't let you down. I know, I replied. Around that same time, Rachel from HR looped me in on the final outcome of the Sasha incident. Her legal team backed off, she said. The non-solicitation agreement you flagged held up. She's effectively blacklisted across all Westbridge vendors for 2 years. I nodded, then asked a question I didn't expect to. How is she handling it? Rachel paused. Hard to say. I doubt well. But honestly, that's no longer your burden. She was right. Sasha's downfall wasn't my responsibility. What mattered was that she didn't drag anyone else down with her. That month, I launched the Legacy Client Initiative, a campaign to reconnect with former clients who had gone quiet during Sasha and Elliot's reign. I personally called half a dozen just to listen. Most had no idea the internal chaos had even happened. But every single one of them said the same thing. We always trusted you more, Veronica. And they were coming back. By the end of the quarter, our client retention rate was up by 18%, and we had landed 3 new contracts from returning accounts. Westbridge noticed. They weren't just impressed, they were inspired. One afternoon, Deidre called again, this time with a different kind of request. We'd like to feature your story in our company-wide leadership digest, she said. Something to show others what it means to handle betrayal with strategy, not bitterness. I hesitated, not because I was afraid to tell it, but because I wanted to tell it right. I sat down that weekend with a cup of coffee and wrote it myself. No ghostwriter, no PR team, just me. My headline? The blueprint they tried to erase, reclaiming my work, my clients, and my voice. It wasn't about shaming Sasha or exposing Elliot. It was about showing what happens when you stand firm in who you are, especially when it feels like the floor's been ripped out from under you. A month later, I walked into the new mentorship training room, one that used to be Sasha's favorite meeting space. Now, it was a space filled with eager new hires, rising talent, and a quote I'd written on the wall in metallic ink. Build your legacy so strong they can't erase your name from the walls you helped raise. Annika stood beside me, helping lead the first workshop. Tyler was coaching the analytics session. And me? I was watching it all unfold, knowing I didn't just recover. I redesigned the entire system. And then, one quiet morning, I received an email. No subject line, just 2 words in the body. You win. It was from Sasha. No apology, no explanation, just defeat. I stared at the screen for a moment, then hit archive, because it was never about winning. It was about refusing to lose myself. Today, I sit in the corner office Sasha used to eye during her walk-bys, the one Elliot never imagined I'd earn, the one I didn't fight for, but rose into. There's no champagne toast, no viral LinkedIn post, just quiet satisfaction, and a deep knowing that I didn't compromise myself to get here. I protected what was mine. I fought for the people who deserved better. I stood still when others ran games. And in the end, that was enough. More than enough. To anyone watching this who's ever had a colleague try to sabotage your work, who's been overlooked while someone else played favorites, who's had to rebuild from betrayal and smile like nothing happened, let me say this clearly. You are not invisible. You are not powerless. You are not done. Keep the receipts. Protect your name. And when the moment comes, don't scream. Show the proof. Hold your ground. And let the facts speak louder than their titles ever could. Because legacy isn't what they let you build. It's what you protect when they try to tear it down. And trust me, I didn't just protect mine. I made it unshakable.